How's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. You know, last Tuesday, April 8th, I did the exact same intro, but we had 6 inches of snow. Here it is 4 days later. A little bit of a snowbank, sunny, little breeze blowing. I'm out here in a shirt. Springtime weather, boys, you can't beat it. Anyways, I just thought I'd show you that that snow that we had didn't last. Now we're on to another project. So I've done a lot of renovations over the shop the last 6-9 months, right? But there's one job I'm kind of interested in getting done before the weather gets too nice outside, because I've got so much work to do outside. I don't want to have to be working in the shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to tackle that job today. And what that job is this electrical panel here behind me. I'd like to enclose it. But way back when I put the sheeting up, if you look down below here, down here, this cavity was open because I've got 2 lines coming in from under the camp, 2 buried lines that come in. They take the electrical power and some a water line, and this is a television cable feed, and also just one empty line because I had planned, I had grandiose plans when I first built the shop that I would have plumbing out here and I'd have a toilet upstairs. I'm not going to use that line, but I wanted to put a cabinet around that. But now what I'm thinking is, instead of just building a little cabinet around that, and a little cabinet around this, why not enclose the whole corner here? My first thoughts on the cabinet is it's going to be about 5 inches deep to get deep enough to clear the electrical panel. So 5 inches deep would work good because I've got some hemlock left in the lumber shed that's 1x6 rough cut. So it would be plenty deep enough to put the vertical piece in here to make the cabinet. This side here, it can just go right against that wall and it'll be inside the trim board of the door. There'll still be lots of room too for the door to open. It wouldn't interfere with coming and going out the man door. Put a vertical piece in here and then come up with some sort of idea for doors. I don't know how we'd put the doors on yet. I haven't got that far in the design, but we're going to start off by getting a piece of hemlock, get it milled up and put in this vertical line. So out here in the lumber shed, I'm looking for some 1x6 hemlock. So this is my 1x6 hemlock row right here. So there's a piece there, quite a bit of weight on that one. So what else have we got? Not a bad looking piece right there. So that looks good. There's no weight on either side. It's nice and clear. Not a lot of knots in it. There's a big knot right here on the side, but that might be okay. I think we'll take this guy. I've also had some comments about, you know, you must be soon going to be running out of scrap wood, you know, for projects and stuff because you burnt so much of it, and I did. Oh man, I burned a lot of wood. Painful too it was. But this rack here in the corner, just to the left of the door when you come in, this is what's left of my scraps. So I still have lots of scraps. These top 2 sections here are like various pieces that are anywhere from 12 to 24 inches long. I've got this little wood rack right here that's filled with mainly hardwood that's in that, hardwood pieces. I see there's a couple of pieces of softwood there. And then these 2 cubicles right here are sheet goods that are, you know, anywhere from 12 to 24 inches long or wide. So I have them piled in there. And then just some random storage down the bottom. So I've got lots of pieces left over. Plus, up at the top here, you can make that out. Lots of sheet goods up there that are you know, various lengths, various materials. And then on this side, this is on the right hand side of the door coming in, I've got a lot of sheet goods left here too. As it turns out, I'm glad I do have a lot of sheet goods left, because I think for the doors I'm going to put on this cabinet, I'm going to need some materials to fill that up, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to fill it with yet. But I don't want to put like, I don't want to make the doors out of 3/4 inch thick material because they'd weigh a ton and a half. So I've got some 3/8 plywood left down here that maybe I could use, but I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got to get the cabinet built first, right? So first thing I want to do with this piece of hemlock is plane it. We're going to go to work and plane this side and get that as smooth as we can. Doesn't have to be baby bum smooth, but you know, smooth. All right, so there's my piece planed, and it's now just a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch, so that should be good. And I only planed it on the front because well, the back's going to be inside the cabinet. When I measure the board, it's 5 3/4 wide. So what I'd like to do, because it's you know, rough sawn, I like to true up the edges. Not going to plane the edges, just true them up. So I set my fence here to just a little bit less than 5 3/4. So we'll run it through the saw and we'll trim off one edge. Then I'll set it to maybe, I don't know, 5 5/8, and run it through and cut off the other edge. If they look all right, we'll leave it like that. Just make it a little bit narrower and do this side now. All right, there. So there's my finished board. It's got a good dressed edge on this side, and more or less on this side, and one good face. Okay, now what I want to do in my effort to try to dress up this piece of wood is I want to cut the end, make sure the end is cut square. And we just trim a little off the end here. So I determined this is approximately the length. I'll cut it here. I'm sure it'll fit. Let's go try it. So the piece fits okay, but I need to cut a notch out of it for this ledger board that I have on the shelf. So I want to cut this notch out of here. So let's cut it. So in light of transparency, you know, everything goes on in the shop. Sometimes you can hide a lot with camera work, but you oftentimes make mistakes. And here I am, made the first real cut on the piece and I cut on the wrong side. It's supposed to be cut on this side, so I have to cut the notch out of this corner. But, you know, one of the things about doing little projects like this around the shop, if you can make up for your mistake, then you don't waste any wood. And I hate to waste wood. So when I make this cabinet, I need to have a top header board go across here for my cupboards to sit into, right? So I'm just going to use that notch to set the piece in there. I was kind of making it, my original thought was that piece would go on the inside of this, and I'd put it together with pocket screws, but we're going to make it like this now. So we're going to cut this notch out. Oh man, I hope this one's right. So I got that piece fit in there pretty good, pretty tight against the wall. I like that. I'm going to take it back out again. When I put it back in, make sure it's plumb. But when I take it out, I want to put some pocket holes, you know, maybe 5 of them along the length of it, so I can screw it to the wall. So I got my piece to fit pretty good against the wall, so now I need to put some pocket holes in it. And remembering that this is the edge that goes against the wall, right? That's the tricky part. So I made some marks on the back here. I don't know, every couple of feet. I'm going to put 6 pocket holes in here. So I have my pocket hole jig set up. And this is a Craig jig, neat thing. I recommend it if you're going to do pocket holes a lot. So here we go. So I've got my laser level set up here, so this is a nice vertical line. I hope you can see it. And I've got my notches in my pocket holes, so all I have to do is set this in here. It doesn't look too bad. It's The wood bows a little in the middle, but when I put the screws in the back, I can kind of hold that on the line, I think. Whenever we put something up, we want to make sure it's plumb and square. Yeah, not bad. Not bad, okay. Not bad. So I've got the vertical piece in, and so I spent some time and I cut this, just a header. It's going to go across the top here. Just close that in. So in order to get this piece mounted, because I made this mistake up here, got that notch out, I'm going to face screw that. So I have a couple of pilot holes and ready to go there. But to secure the rest of this under the shelf there, I want to come down through the shelf into this piece. So to help me line that all up, I made some spacers. So this is going to go in here first off. So that spacer is going to go right there. And then this is the one that's the gap from the wall. All right, so this screw is going to go right in there. All right. Now a couple more screws to hold the header in place. So now I'm trying to come up with something to put down here as a part of the face frame for my doors. So I have this piece of 1 inch veranda flooring, it was, but it's 1.5 inches wide. So the hinges I'm planning on using are those European cabinet hinges I used on my workbench, and they overlap by 3/4 of an inch. So I'm figuring 3/4 of an inch will give me still, you know, about 3/4 of an inch of space here. I think it'll look all right. I also had to notch the bottom of this piece to fit around the baseboard. I didn't want to take the baseboard out because it would have left too small of a little piece. So, all right, so now we're going to put this in. I also set my laser up again. I drilled some pilot holes to begin with, just to make sure, eh? Excuse me, but I have to move out of the way so I can see my line. Alright, so I got a few screws in that, just enough to hold it, and it's nice and plumb, so I think we're good now. Alright, I cut a piece of baseboard to put across the bottom of this. Now it's going to be really tricky. I have some pocket holes on this end of it. It's going to be really tricky to get myself down there in the drill and whatnot, put those screws in there. So I'm not going to take these along, I'm just going to show you how that's going to go. I'm going to put pocket screws on that side. I'm going to face screw it through the vertical part into the baseboard at the bottom on this side. So the cabinet frame is done. All it needs now is a couple of doors. So I had some ideas to make doors, but I settled on a panel door, and a panel door has some stiles and rails. Rails across the horizontal ones, stiles are the vertical ones. What do I make those out of? Well, a while ago I went to my lumber store and I bought a bunch of 1x4 spruce strapping. Now this is not great wood, it's probably bottom of the line type of wood, but it's just used for strapping, so what do you expect? And I'm going to try and make a cabinet out of it, so I got a little bit of work to do to it. One of the things is the edges are rounded over, and I'm not sure that I want to have rounded over edges when I make my stiles and my rails, because it might just not work out right. Plus, I don't want them to be that wide. I'd like maybe the rails to be 3 inches wide. That would give me enough room to set the cup hole that I have to make, because I'm using the full overlay hinges, and it will still give me room for a rabbit edge so I can set my panel in there. So we're going to start by setting up the saw and cutting these rounded edges off here, and hopefully we'll end up with a 3-inch piece of wood. And I think that's going to be good to do that, because this wood is not all the same width. It kind of comes and goes, but for strapping I guess it's not bad. So anyway, I set my fence up here to 3 1/4. We're going to rip one rounded edge off. Then I'm going to turn the board end for end, set the fence to 3, rip it the other way. That should make a good parallel edges on my board and give me square edges. I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. So let's try it. So now I reset the fence to 3 inches. turn the board end for end, put this freshly cut face against the fence. So I'm going to cut a couple of these. I'm going to need, let me see, probably 1, 2, at least 3 of them. Well, I think I've settled on how I'm going to make my doors. These are going to be the 2 styles, the vertical pieces. I'm going to have rails go across the top and across the bottom. All right. The other thing I want to put, I was thinking I was going to put 1 cross member in the middle of the door, but I've changed my mind now and I'm going to put 2 in because I think that'll give me more solid area to mount my hinges. So what I want to do is join all this together with half lap joints. I've always used half lap joints. They're good and solid. A little bit of glue on them, you know, they'll never come apart. But I want to cut a half lap here and there and at the bottoms. The trick about cutting half laps is you have to cut half the material away from this piece and half the material from the cross piece to make them fit together. So we're going to try that. Got it set up in the table saw here. My fence is 3 inches away from the right edge of the blade. So I'm going to make the first cut there and then I'll just slowly work it across until I get all this hogged out. And then I'll do the same on the other end and we'll set up and do the middle ones later on. But let's start with this one. So I didn't get all of the wood cleared out, but I got enough of it cleared out so that I can break it away, and then with my chisel I can flatten that surface. Right? I'm just going to cut now the cross piece that's going to go in here, and just check that the half lap is the proper depth before I go any further. Okay, so here's the big test. You know what? I've cut too much off. So now this part is not quite 3/4 of an inch thick, so that's the danger, right? I think that'll be all right though. I can sand that down. It's not off by that much. So I'm going to reset the saw and I'll cut the rest of them. Okay, now we'll try one of our cross pieces in here. It's a little on the tight side, eh? So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger and we'll just make the rest of them. I got 3 others after this one and then we'll be ready to put the door together. Alright, there's my door dry assembled, right? It fits pretty good. I checked it for square and it's within 1/16 of an inch. Oh, holy darn. Pretty surprising there. So because I have to take it apart to glue it up, I spent some time to label everything to make sure I could get it back together in the same orientation. My original concept was the stiles on the sides here. I had planned on those to go right top to bottom, like these center ones do, go top to bottom. But when I was cutting my half laps, of course I cut one wrong, so that meant I had to change my plan. So now these side stiles only come up to the top and then the rails go from side to side, except for in the middle, because in the middle the stiles will go top to bottom. So the side stiles are not the same as the middle stiles. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out in case you were following real close. So yeah, I'm going to strip this apart and glue it up, I think. And then once it's glued up, I can rip it down the middle and make it into the 2 doors. And then once I cut it into 2 doors, I'm going to put on the router, I think, and route a rabbet on the down side, not the face side here, but the other side. Route a 1/4 inch by, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/8 rabbet around all these panels. And then I can cut my field panels to fit those in there. I think that would be the best way to do that. So yeah, glue up is next. Okay, so this piece is going to go in here. Something like that and like that. Now I have some clamps. Alright, we're just getting ready to put the last piece of the puzzle together here. You know what? That glue up wasn't as torturous as I thought it might be. So this job has taken a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, so we're going to have to put an end to this and make this a two-part series, I think. So I don't like making two-part projects, but it's just too long and I didn't want to skip any of the details. So I hope you understand. Don't forget to thumbs up me and please tune in for part 2 of making my electrical panel disappear. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great week wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon.